Right, so let's check our work from yesterday. Okay, so for the first question, it said use the bar model to calculate the answer to the subtraction. So you're doing 2, take away 5/6. Okay, so hopefully you were able to turn that whole number into a fraction, which would give you 12/6, and then you simply did 12/6, take away 5/6, which gives you 7/6, as you can see here, or 1 whole and 1/6. Okay. Then for this one, it said draw your own bar models and use them to calculate each subtraction. So it was 2 take away 3/8. So we needed to turn this into a fraction. So that would give me 2 times 8, that would give me 16/8. And then I'm going to do 16/8, take away 3/8, which gives me 13/8, or 1 whole and 5/8. Same for this one, you should have turned 3 into 15/5, and then did 15/5, take away 1/5, which equals 14/5, or 2 wholes and 4/5. Okay, moving on to this question here. You're doing 3 take away 3/4, and your answer should have been 9/4. Then 3 take away 3/8, and your answer was 21/8. And then finally, your answer was 9/8 for the last one. So for these two word problems, for this one, Dora is subtracting a fraction from a whole. She does 5 take away 3/7, and she says the answer is 2/7. So did you spot a mistake? So Dora did not recognise that 5 wholes is equivalent to 35/7. Because remember, 5 times by 7 is 35. You've got 5 whole bar models, okay, or 5 whole chocolate bars that have been split into 7. Okay, then 35/7 take away 3/7 gives you 33/7. So hopefully you'll be able to work that out. And then this answer had lots of possible responses. So you were doing 2 wholes, take away so many 8ths equals 5/8 plus something, so many 8ths. So hopefully you were able to work out that 2 wholes would have been equivalent to 16/8. Okay. And then there was lots of different possible answers, okay? So this one here was 2, so 16/8 take away 1, which gives me 15/8. So I'm trying to make 15/8. So then what do I add to 5 to make 15? I add 10. So that was one possible answer. And then you may have come up with different ones, okay? So well done. Hopefully you are now feeling a lot more confident with your subtracting amounts from whole numbers. So we're going to be looking today at how to find fractions of a quantity or fractions of amounts. So, for example, I have got 24 sweets and I would like to share them between my 6 friends. How many would each friend get? So you're going to try and find 1/6 of 24. So have a little think, how would you solve that question? And that's what we're going to be having a look at this morning. All right, so before we start, let's just quickly remember how to find fractions of amounts when you've got a unit fraction. So let's look at the first one. And for this one, I want you to think about using counters to solve this question. So 1/3 of 24. So imagine that you've got your counters in front of you, you've got 24 counters, okay, and you want to find 1/3. So you've got to split your counters into 3 groups to represent your thirds. And most of you should remember this because you did this in year 4 and probably in year 3. So then we're just going to simply share out our 24 counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now let's count how many counters we have in each circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so well done. So we can very easily work out that 1/3 of 24 equals 8. Okay, and that was quite easy because it was sharing. You're sharing 24 into 3 different piles. Okay, so I'd like you to have a go at just reminding yourself, can you find 1/4 of 24? And can you find 1/6 of 24? So some of you actually might be able to do that in your heads as well. And if you can, that's brilliant. If not, I want you to do exactly what I've just done and draw out the circles to represent your denominator. So pause the video here and have a go at that. Okay, so for this question, you should have drawn 4 circles. Okay, and then shared out your 24 counters, and you would have found that each circle had 6 counters in each. Okay, so some of you might have just done 24 divided by 4, which was 6. That's absolutely fine, whichever way you find easiest. Okay, so same here, 1/6 of 24. You would be doing 6 circles. Doesn't really matter for these ones if they're not the same size, and then sharing your 24 counters into your 6 circles, and you would have found 4. So hopefully that was quite easy for some of you, and you'll be ready to move on to a different way of finding fractions of amounts. So the whole bar represents 20, which is our whole amount. We want to find 1/4 of 20. So we want to find 1/4 of 20. We don't know what this is at the moment, so let's write that as a number sentence. Something equals 20 split into 4, 20 divided by 4, because we've got 4 quarters, we want to find 1/4. Okay, so we're going to do something equals 20 divided by 4. How many 4s are there in 20? And we know that there are 5. 5 4s make 20. So we can work out that each of these quarters, that's not a very good colour to use, let me pick one that stands out. Each of these quarters is worth 5, because the whole amount, as you can see demonstrated above, is worth 20. And each of these is worth 5. 5, 10, 15, 20. So 1/4 of 20 equals 5. So now we're going to have a go at finding 1/6 of 24 using a bar model. So this is our whole bar model. So we know if we're trying to find 1/6 of 24, the whole amount is worth 24. Okay, and we're trying to find 1/6 of 24. So we need to split our bar model into 6. So we're going to split our bar model into 6. And we're trying to find 1/6 of 24. So we've shaded in that bit. So if we're thinking about that as a number sentence, we know that something equals 24, which is our whole amount, divided by 6, which will tell us how much 1/6 is. So 24 divided by 6, or how many 6s go into 24, we know is 4. So we now know that 1/6 of 24 equals 4. So now we're going to have a go at finding 1/6 of 24 using a bar model. So if we were finding what 2/6 of 24 were, we know that 1/6 of 24 is 4, because we did 24 divided by 6, which gave us 1 sixths. Now we want to find 2/6. So we need two parts. We know that each part is worth 4. So what do we need to do with our answer? That's right, we need to multiply it by 2. Because 1/6 is 4, 2/6 are therefore going to be 8. So 2/6 of 24 are 8. And if you then wanted to find out what 3/6 were, you would multiply your answer for 1/6 by 3. So 3/6 of 24 are 12. And we can double check that because we know each of these parts is worth 4. So 1, 4, 8, 12. So 3/6 of 24 equals 12. Right, so let's have a look at this question. We've got Rodrigo eats 3/5 of a 200-gram bar of chocolate. How many grams of chocolate has he eaten? So first thing we need to do, let's build a picture in our mind. We've got our bar, okay, and our bar is worth 200 grams of chocolate. So the whole thing is worth 200 grams. Okay, so now we're going to split our bar into fifths. Well done, okay, because we're going to split our bar into fifths, okay, and we don't want 1/5, we want 3/5, okay. First thing we've got to do is work out what 1/5 equals. So if we turn that into a number sentence, something equals 200 divided by 5, okay? So stop and pause the video there and have a little think about how you're going to solve 200 divided by 5. So we can make that easy for ourselves. We could think about what we know about our times tables. We could do 20 divided by 5. And we know 20 divided by 5 is 4. But because we got rid of a 0, we divided it by 10, we got rid of a 0, we've got to then put the 0 back on and multiply our answer by 10 again. So we know that 200 divided by 5 equals 40. Okay, so the moment we know that 1/5 equals 40. Okay, but we didn't want 1/5. We wanted 3/5. So what do we then need to do with our answer? So we know 1/5 equals 40. Okay, so what do we then need to do with our answer? To find 3/5, we've got to multiply it by 3. And again, we can use our knowledge of times tables to help us. If we can do 4 by 3, we can do 40 by 3. So 4 by 3, 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. So 40 multiplied by 3 is 120. So we can work out now that 3/5 of 200 grams equals 120 grams. Your work for today. So first question, Mo has 12 apples. Use counters to represent his apples and find, and then you can have a go at each one of these sums. You don't need to use counters. You can either do it in your head or you can draw the circles like we did earlier. Okay, and then this part of the question is asking you to use a bar model to help you represent and find 1/7 of 56, 2/7 of 56, and so on. So you might want to draw it out just how I showed you in the previous slides, or again, you might be able to do it in your head. It's based on what you can remember from last year. Okay, and then you've got a word problem. Whitney eats 3/8 of a 240 gram bar of chocolate. How many grams of chocolate has she eaten? So that's very similar to the question that I just went through with you. So if you're stuck on that question, please do go back through the slides and have a little listen to how to solve that. Just remember, draw a bar model to help you solve these questions. And then finally, true or false, to find 3/8 of a number, You divide by 3 and multiply by 8. Is that correct? If it's correct, or if it's not correct, make sure that you prove why it's not correct. So you don't need to upload your work to Dojo today, but if you are finding anything tricky, please message me or get your parents to message me on Dojo.